saying we need people like Jerry Rawlings back, to take care of the African continent. Their wives have no conscience. I once wrote an article and I was asking, these women, are they women at all? You see children in Africa, they can't go to school. They have no shoes. Teachers are not being paid. And your husband is piling wealth that you won't even finish before you die. What are you doing with it? People are talking about corruption, and then you give them an opportunity to get to government. They also become corrupt. So who is going to save the African continent? I believe African leaders will do better. But we are getting there if people can decide to vote and watch their votes and hold their government accountable, because people in Africa don't hold people accountable. Election season comes, they show up, and people still go out there and vote for that person just because they've given them bags of rice or money or one thing or the other. The next thing, they are carrying guns and drugs on the streets because women are busy working more than men, competing with men for money. Instead of you, do your 9 to 5 thing, work your normal job. Don't be greedy. Because at the end of the day, you make that money and you lose your children. Is it worth it? It's not worth it. At the end of the day, you die an empty person. You can make all that money, throw all the parties, but you don't have your children. You're a miserable person.
Many thanks to you for joining me today on this episode of Nigerians Abroad. Please do well to subscribe to this channel, Africa Network Television, share the content, like it, and leave your comments behind. Few days ago, I spoke to her husband, who happens to be His Royal Highness Eze Dr. Evangelist Tony Ulasi, the Eze Oguda Ebube 1 of Dome, Kwabenya, and Pokuase region of the Greater Accra region. And it has become necessary that I have a conversation with the Lolo of this throne in the person of Amara Blessing Ulasi, the Ugo Eze of His Royal Highness. And she is a mother to mothers and children. So we're going to have a conversation with her where she shed light on her life in the United States of America and how she's been able to do her ministry since 2010. Stay here with us. This is Nigerians Abroad, brought to you by Restoration Multimedia here in Accra. We do multimedia of any kind, photography, graphic designing, videography of any event. The people you can trust is Restoration Multimedia. Please do well to follow us up on all social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and call us on 055-922-9828, 055-922-9828. This is Nigerians Abroad. My name is Kofi Opon Ochiri, and my guest is the Lolo, Her Royal Highness Amara Blessing Ulasi, the Ugo Eze of Dome, Kwabenya, and Pokuase Ridge area. One. Lolo, I am humbled to meet you. Such a great woman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you. And then she happens to be my mother in the industry. She was a journalist before in Nigeria, before she whispered into my ears before she left to the US. We're going to be discussing her life briefly. Life in the United States of America as a Nigerian. We're going to learn from that. And also, for 30 years, she has been with a great man. Mommy, how does it feel to spend 30 years of your life with a great man?
I got to know him from when I was about 8 years old, 8 years old. So to me, my relationship with him, most times when you see us joke or play in the house, it's more like, the way siblings play. We don't really relate as more of that husband and wife thing, like that you have to, this one respects this one. We are very free with each other. So that's the kind of relationship, the bond we have, that no matter what happens, we still overcome it at the end of the day. So I look at him like someone I grew up with. So even though he's from a different town, and I am, from me, but we were family friends. The two families were friends when we were young. Yeah, so I grew up to know him. So that's the kind of bond we share with each other.
But feeling now, knowing his greatness, his achievement, his accomplishments over the period, how does that make you feel as his wife?
Yeah, it's something. He's always been a very hardworking man. He's always been from childhood. He's like that very daring person. He goes for what he wants. He knows what he wants and he goes for it. Sometimes he can be very stubborn, but that also helps him in achieving his goals. So all you have to do is just understand him. I am proud of him because at the same time, with all his achievements, he remains a very humble person. Whatever he does, a very simple person. He doesn't even feel like he's a king or he's the CEO of this or CEO of that. He doesn't feel it at all. He doesn't show it. He's very playful. He's very free in the house and out there. So there is nothing called pride in him. He's a very simple person. And when he relates with me in a very simple, like, we are very free with each other, with the kids, and so everybody is very free. So he does not. To me, I always tell him, even though now, whenever we crack jokes, I'll be like, yeah, you are okay now, but sometimes I'll be like, I will just still call him T-boy. I'll be like, oh, you're always T-boy. So, and sometimes I'll be like, you are going to dress like T-boy for me today, so that's the kind of, how free we are with each other, yeah.
He shared with me when I had a conversation with him that, he began his life more or less as a commercial traveler, where he used to frequent Nigeria and the UK.
Yes, Nigeria, UK,
Taiwan, China.
France, China, yes.
Different places. And at the time you were married, how were you able to manage it?
Yeah, constant communication. When you understand that this is a sacrifice you have to pay. This is a price you have to pay for that person to achieve his goals. When we got married, we started from a 2-bedroom apartment, so the growth continued, and God has always been faithful. And so understanding each other, we practically grew up with each other. So it wasn't difficult. And in the house, I had my mother-in-law, rest in peace, but she was a lovely woman. Like, I was like her, she loved me. I was like her favorite. That woman loved me. And then my mom was always around, and it was more of a family thing. So I didn't really feel that lonely or alone most times. And I know for me as well, I travel too, because sometimes he's one man. The funny thing about him, when he wants to travel, this man buys economy class for himself. But when I want to travel, he buys first class or business class for me. Because all he wants is for me to be comfortable. He doesn't want me to, go and sit in the economy class. He will sit in that economy class. But once it comes to Amara, it's a different thing entirely. So he always seeks my comfort in everything he does. That's the kind of relationship we always have. So I never felt like I needed anything, even till now. It's like he makes sure that I lack nothing.
So, with all this, at what point did you relocate to the United States?
I moved to the United States in 2014. Yeah, 2014. And the kids went to high school and college now. So one is going to medical school next year. One is about to become a pilot very soon. And my first son is here in Ghana, helping with the business and with every other thing. And then my first daughter is an IT specialist in the US as well.
Wow.
So they are all doing well.
Wow.
That's great.
You have been such a blessing to His Royal Highness and the children and everyone else around him. But life in the US, could you walk us through life with the US with you and your children?
Yeah, the thing about America is it's a country that gives everybody the opportunity to survive. So when you are there, as long as you play by the rules and you try to make sure your immigration papers are okay and everything is okay, you have no problem, because it's a country where there is dignity in labor. They respect you no matter what you do. You make your money. It's a country where you will see a plumber, an electrician making more money than an engineer, because they give you opportunity. Whatever you do, you make your money, you pay your bills. But when you decide to do crime, that's where you begin to have a problem, or when you decide to cut corners with the government. But it's a land that welcomes people. Forget about the craziness, the nonsense that people like Trump, talks about now. But it's still a country where there is love. People welcome you. Immigrants are okay. There are so many. I've traveled to different countries where immigrants are made to feel like second-class citizens. Not in America. Everybody fits in. You're okay. You're comfortable. As long as you play by the rules and you have your papers, you have nothing to hide.
So you mean to say life in the U.S. was quite beautiful?
It was beautiful because, thank God for the grace. One thing about U.S. is not for a lazy man. If you're lazy, you will not survive. So you have to be ready to work. And thank God for the grace of God upon my life, because he kept opening doors for me. I was a school director in the U.S., so I managed a lot of big schools, My field is education, yes. So both my bachelor's degree, master's degree, diploma, everything is education. So I am passionate about little children, early childhood education. And I also worked there as a consultant, helping to set up a lot of schools for people. So God gave me that grace that I managed a lot of big schools. And it was beautiful. I didn't go through the kind of stress that many people, because one thing I tell people, when you get there, no matter your academic qualification, if you get educated in America, you'll be okay. But if you decide to just settle, there are certain jobs you will do, because in America, even to be a good plumber, electrician, whatever, you are going to get certified, so you have to go to school. Not like the 4-year college, but you go for a training school, receive certification before people can patronize you. But if you're not willing to do all those things, then you will keep cutting corners and doing the menial jobs. But America wants you to educate yourself. And there is loan. If you want, you take loan. Student loan, education loan, there are scholarships, there are grants that you can access. And then, as long as you are paying it, because they give you, even if you want to pay $100 a month, they will allow you, as long as you're consistent with your payment. You want to buy a house, as long as you have good credit score and you have a job, you will qualify for a house. So everybody can own a house in the U.S. An ordinary teacher can own a big house. It depends on how much you earn. And the bank will approve your loan, and they check your credit history, and you are good. You have everything you want. You can buy a big car. So when I see people in Africa, sometimes they see people driving big cars in America, they feel like it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. I can walk into any car dealership today, Mercedes or whatever, and tell them in America, I want a brand new, the latest Mercedes. My credit score is good, I will get it. All they need is your pay stub and your credit history to check, to be sure that you don't owe. And you will get it, but you will have to be ready to service the loan, pay monthly, pay your insurance. And when you're buying the big car, you also have to consider the cost of that insurance, because the bigger the car, the more expensive your insurance. So if you're someone who wants to save money, you have to watch it. Yeah.
Well, with all this beauty, all these goodies in the U.S., then I think that Lolo one day woke up and know that per plans, I have to relocate back to Ghana and be with my husband.
Yeah.
And now you are here.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be in Ghana?
Like when you are home, they say east or west, home is best. So when you are home and you are with somebody who understands you, understands your dreams, your aspirations, because even though I just do early childhood education as a consultant, I was also trained by the Protocol School of Washington to train people on corporate etiquette, and also I still do training for corporate officers, government officials on international travels and all that. And I still do training as emergency training people in CPR, first aid and all that, how to take care of if someone in your house faints or whatever, what are you supposed to do? So those are the things I still have the opportunity to do. And as somebody, he understands that I am somebody who loves ministry, and he has given me every support that I need for ministry. So when I go out there to preach, when I go out there to do things, he gives me support. So I don't really feel like I am losing much. And thankfully, thank God for Ghana, we have electricity. So most times I don't have to sweat. So
I think Lolo wants to say something about our home country.
no, Ghana is actually doing well. I believe African leaders will do better. But we are getting there if people can decide to vote and watch their votes and hold their government accountable, because people in Africa don't hold people accountable. Election season comes, they show up, and people still go out there and vote for that person just because they've given them bags of rice or money or one thing or the other. Then for that 4 years or 2 years, whatever, they go back. They don't have your time. So if we begin to hold these people accountable, watch our vote. But the problem is there's corruption everywhere. People are talking about corruption, and then you give them an opportunity to get to government, they also become corrupt. So who is going to save the African continent? I keep saying it, we need people like Jerry Rawlings back, to take care of the African continent. Because for me, I feel like if people can have that fear once again, things will be okay, because it's like they have no conscience. Their wives have no conscience. I once wrote an article and I was asking, these women, are they women at all? You see children in Africa, they can't go to school. They have no shoes. Teachers are not being paid. And your husband is piling wealth that you won't even finish before you die. What are you doing with it? So I blame their wives more. They are part of the people destroying the African continent. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I must say that it's a great message that you're sending across. That I think that nations would hear, nations would listen, and really pick lessons from what you just shared about how Africa is being mismanaged, and the fact that wives, or let's say women also in power, who are accomplices to some of the events of crime that we see, or corruption that we see, I mean, how they should be shameful of themselves.
They should be ashamed. They're not women. They should be ashamed of themselves.
All right, let's do a quick break and then we'll come back and then we'll talk about the New Yam Festival.
Okay.
All right, stay here. This is Nigerians Abroad. Alright, thanks for still staying with us. You are watching Nigerians Abroad, and I am having a conversation with Ugo Eze, the Lolo of Eze Okuda Ebube 1. Mommy, I think that you mentioned, I don't think, but you actually mentioned that you have passion and interest in ministry. Could you please take us through your journey?
Yeah, I was born to a Christian family, a preacher's family. My dad actually happened to be the first pastor in my local government in Nigeria. So he fought for the gospel. He was jailed for the gospel. He was beaten for the gospel. So that's the man who gave birth to me. And as a child, through my dad, I met great men of God like Kenneth Hagin, Maurice Cirulo, all of them. So I followed my dad for revival program, crusades, and all that as a child. And being that my parents were in ministry, I think that's how the passion started. And when I was born, there were so many prophecies about me being the one picking up the mantle upon my dad. And so I had this passion from childhood to always, serve God. Not like I'm perfect or anything. Just like every other human being, we make mistakes. But it's like my first love. And so growing up, I picked interest in widows and children. Back in Nigeria, I fought for a lot of them. Abused widows. I worked with lawyers pro bono, like some wicked in-laws wanting to take over their properties, or I helped pay their rent. A lot of them. I have in Lagos alone, I have about 250 of them. And then back in my hometown, I have some countable, a lot of them. So we do 4 programs in a year for them. We've helped them pay their rent, fight their cases, pay school fees for their children. Some we give scholarship. And it's been like that for a long time. This is something I've done for years, since 2010. And a lot of people feel like I have to make it big like every other nonprofit. And I keep telling them it's ministry to me. So I don't just give them those things. I go, they meet every week. I teach them, we preach the word of God. I have some ladies that work with me because I believe in winning them to Christ as well, teaching them the truth of the word of God while helping them. Some we give soft loans to start businesses and all that, and they are doing so well today. So it's something I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about early childhood education, the lives of children when they are young, before 10 years old. I love children, so it's something I just love it. And then women as well, because I want women to get it right. A lot of them don't know where they are, so it's my passion, winning them to Christ, as well as educating them and also helping their lives. So when people say ministry to me, yes, some churches call me. I go to speak in churches. I preach in churches, schools, organizations. I speak internationally, locally. But for my own ministry, it's all about women and children, loving the Lord and helping them as well.
And so, aside from all this, then you have lived 3 years of your life as LOL. How has it been?
Because I am more in the US with the children.
Okay.
So this is like, okay, last year, yeah, I spent a long time here, but it's not like, it's easy because he is, they call him evangelist, the king that is evangelist.
Yes.
So, because he knows the family I came from. And he also, being a man that loves God too, there are things that he won't get involved in. So he is doing it God's own way. Do you understand? And because he's doing it the right way, there is nothing like ritual, unnecessary ritual, and all those things. I support him 100%. It's a lot of events you have to attend, and a lot of things you have to do, but it comes with the territory, so you just have to get used to it. Yeah.
Okay, now so there's an upcoming event from this palace, which is the New Yam, the Igbo's New Yam Festival, and we would want you to throw more light on it. I mean, especially speaking to women and children, per your ministry that you just shared with us, women and children, about the New Yam Festival on the 27th of October.
Yes, the New Yam Festival, like is us Igbo people thanking the Lord, the God, for fruitfulness, for life, God that gave. And because we are here, we don't have like farms we've planted, but we are thanking God for fruitfulness throughout the year, from last planting season to this time. So that's what it's about. Even in Israel, the children of Israel, they did that as well, and they still do. That's the same culture Igbo people have. And women here are out, they are preparing, they are getting everything ready, that we are going to have fun with both the women and the children. A lot of things will take place. The women will dance, the women will sing, have presentations and all that. So everybody's ready for the New Yam Festival, and I know it's going to be beautiful. The women of the palace, the women in the kingdom are ready, the men are ready, the children are ready, everybody's ready for it, and it's going to be beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are just ending our conversation, and I would want to have your message to women and children, especially Nigerian women and children in the diaspora.
Yeah, for me, I believe even when you are in the diaspora, don't lose our culture. There are things, when I see women jumping because you're in the diaspora from one party to the other, or you're in the diaspora because you're in the diaspora, maybe some of you start slapping your husband or losing our culture. Those things, it's not just about our culture, it's all about the word of God as well. So there is a place for the woman in our Igbo culture, and we shouldn't lose it because you are working, you are doing overtime in the diaspora. Yes, we all need money, but raising your children, because if you go back in the diaspora, a lot of children are lost. You see them, that is when they see you, see them with earring and all that, what's up, hey, the next thing they are carrying gun and drugs on the streets because women are busy working more than men, competing with men for money. Instead of you, do your 9 to 5 thing, work your normal job. Don't be greedy. Because at the end of the day, you make that money and you lose your children. Is it worth it? It's not worth it. At the end of the day, you die an empty person. You can make all that money, throw all the parties, but you don't have your children. You're a miserable person. So spend more time with your children. Stay back at home as a woman. Do your job. But don't overdo it. Don't be greedy. Because if you die in that job, the moment you die, they replace you. They don't care about you. They care about the money you're making for the company. So don't lose yourself for it. Take care of your body. Take care of yourself. Take care of your children and your husband.
All right. Ugo Eze, is there anything that you may want to share that we did not ask or I did not ask?
I think we should just stop it for now. Nothing much, but I don't think I have anything to say. I just want to say thank you for coming and thank you for spending the time with us today.
Right. Thank you, Ugo Eze. Thank you for granting us this very interview.
Thank you.
This interview or conversation with this woman of women and children is such that there is bits and pieces of lessons for everyone to learn. From the lessons learned from the husband and now lessons learned from the wife. I think we have to hold conversations with this beautiful couple again, with this royal family again. I loved it. You liked it. Please subscribe, share this very interview and conversation with this royal family. It has been Nigerians Abroad, and my guest on this episode of Nigerians Abroad has been Her Royal Highness Amara Blessing Ulasi, the Ugo Eze of Dome, Kwabenya and Pokuase Ridge area. Thank you very much for joining me. This program is brought to you by Restoration Multimedia, located in Accra, Chantai Market. Call us on 0559229828, 0559229828. My name is Kofi Opon Otre, and it has been Nigerians Abroad, where we are inspiring generations. And again, heaven is real.